Hello and welcome to Enlycast, the English daily podcast, where we dive deep into the mechanics of learning, thinking, and mastering new skills. I'm your host, Anna.
And I'm Sam. It's great to be with you all today as we unpack some pretty complex ideas.
Definitely. And today we're tackling a subject that is, well, it's a huge hurdle for so many language learners. We're talking about how to stop translating in your head and start thinking in English.
Oh, this is a big one. The translation barrier. It's like having a constant, slow middleman in your brain for every single conversation.
Exactly, a middleman. I love that analogy. It's this mental grammar checker that just slows everything down, makes you feel hesitant.
Right, and unnatural. You can't be spontaneous. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I'd be at a dinner party and someone would ask me a simple question. By the time I'd heard it, translated it to English, formulated my answer in English, translated that back to Spanish, and then checked the grammar, the conversation had moved on 3 topics later.
Yes, that feeling of being left behind, it's so common. And it's not because you don't know the words, it's because the process is inefficient. Your brain is doing double, sometimes triple the work.
It's exhausting too. The cognitive load is immense. You finish a 10-minute conversation and feel like you've run a marathon.
Mm-hmm. So I think the first step is just acknowledging what it is. It's a habit, a mental habit formed from the way most of us were taught languages in school.
You mean like with vocabulary lists? Dog means perro. House means casa. We're trained from day one to create these one-to-one direct translations.
Precisely, the grammar translation method. It's an academic way to understand a language's structure, but it's a terrible way to learn how to use a language fluidly. It builds the translation habit right into the foundation of your learning.
Right, because language isn't a code where every word has a perfect equivalent. There's nuance, idiom, culture.
All of that. Think of the English phrase, I'm feeling blue. If you translate that word for word into, say, Japanese, it's just gibberish about the color blue. You have to understand the concept, the feeling within the context of English itself.
So a big part of the problem is this reliance on our native language as a crutch. We keep referring back to it because it's safe. It's our comfort zone.
It is, and there's another layer to it too, which is fear.
Fear of what?
Fear of making mistakes. The translation process feels like a safety check. If I construct the sentence perfectly in my native tongue and then translate it carefully, I'm less likely to say something stupid in English.
Yes, the perfectionism trap. But fluency isn't about perfection, is it? It's about communication. Native speakers make mistakes and use sentence fragments all the time.
All the time. We say things like, gonna grab coffee, want one? It's not grammatically perfect, but it's perfectly understood. A learner translating in their head might be agonizing over, I am going to get a coffee. Would you like to have one? It's stilted.
So we've identified the what and the why, the habit from school, the fear, the comfort zone. How do we break it? What are the actual practical steps someone can take to start, building the thinking in English muscle?
Okay, this is the good part. My first and maybe biggest piece of advice is to create an immersion environment. You have to make English unavoidable.
Which sounds great if you can move to London or New York, but what about for the rest of us?
You can do it from your bedroom, seriously. Change the language on your phone to English. Change your computer's operating system, the apps you use every day, the websites you browse. Force yourself to navigate them in English.
That's a good one. It's low stakes. You already know where the send button is, so you just learn the word for it naturally. You're associating the function directly with the English word, not with the translation.
Exactly. You're cutting out the middleman. Same with entertainment. Watch movies you've already seen, but this time watch them in English, maybe with English subtitles at first. But the goal is to get to a point where you're just watching, listening, absorbing.
Okay, I have one that's sort of a step down from that for people who feel that's too overwhelming. It's something I call narrating your life.
I like the sound of that. Go on.
You do it entirely in your head. As you go about your day, just describe what you're doing in simple English. I am walking to the kitchen. I am opening the refrigerator. I see milk and eggs. I am thirsty.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's so simple and there's zero pressure. No one is listening. You can't make a mistake.
Right, and you'll quickly find the gaps in your everyday vocabulary. You might get to the kitchen and realize you don't know the word for faucet or countertop, so you look it up. But you're learning it in context, connected to the real object, not just as a word on a list.
That directly connects to my next point, which is switch to an English to English dictionary, a learner's dictionary.
Get rid of the bilingual one.
Throw it out. Well, don't throw it out, but put it on a high shelf. When you look up a new word like faucet, you don't want to see the translation. You want to see a simple English definition, like a device that controls the flow of water from a pipe.
Because then your brain is forced to stay inside the English language. It builds a web of connections. Faucet connects to water, pipe, kitchen, control. It's not just a single fragile thread back to your native language.
You're building a network, and that network is what constitutes thinking in a language. It's having all those interconnected nodes of meaning.
Okay, so building on that idea of connection, another technique is to deliberately practice word association, but with images. When you learn a new word, let's say storm, don't write down the translation. Close your eyes and picture a storm. Think of dark clouds, rain, wind, the sound of thunder. Associate the English word storm directly with that rich, multi-sensory concept in your mind.
You're creating a direct link between the word and the idea itself, bypassing the need for a native language intermediary. That is so powerful. It feels like you're creating a separate English-based operating system in your brain.
That's the goal, a separate OS. And you know, all these techniques are great for input and internal processing, but eventually you have to speak.
Which brings us back to the fear of making mistakes. It's the biggest barrier to practice.
It is. So, what if you practice without an audience?
You mean talking to yourself?
Yes, it sounds silly, but it works. Take that internal narration we talked about and say it out loud. I am making coffee. Pick an object in the room and describe it aloud for 1 minute. This is a blue lamp. It has a white shade. It is sitting on a wooden table.
It gets your mouth, your tongue, your vocal cords used to forming English sounds. It connects the thoughts to the physical act of speaking, again, without the pressure of being judged. You can even record yourself on your phone and listen back.
And I think the key to all of this really is patience and consistency. You're not going to stop translating overnight. It's a habit you've built over years. You have to build a new one to replace it, brick by brick.
Absolutely. Be kind to yourself. Some days you'll feel fluent, and other days your brain will default back to translating, especially if you're tired or stressed. That's normal. The goal is progress, not perfection. That's a great point about patience. And speaking of building new habits, there's another active technique I'm a huge fan of called shadowing. Have you ever tried it?
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground here. From identifying the translation habit to concrete strategies like immersion, narrating your life, using a monolingual dictionary, and even talking to yourself.
We have. I think if there's one key takeaway for our listeners, it's that thinking in English isn't some magical ability that some people have and others don't. It's a skill. And like any skill, it can be developed with conscious, consistent practice.
Well said. It's about changing your approach from how do I say this in English to just thinking the thought in English from the very beginning.
So, our challenge to you, our listeners, is to pick just one of these things this week. Just one. Maybe you'll narrate your morning routine in your head. Or maybe you'll change the language on your phone for a single day.
Start small and build momentum. Let us know how it goes. You can find us on all the usual social media platforms at Enlycast.
We'd love to hear from you. And if you found this episode helpful, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. It really helps us reach more curious minds.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep thinking. I'm Anna.
And I'm Sam. This has been Enlycast, your English daily podcast.